Thank you. Hello and welcome to COLTT 2024, Classic COLTT. This is a very special year where together we get to journey forward into the past. And only this year can I wear my Walkman, listen to tunes during the keynote, while secretly hoping that Deb announces that you get a hoverboard, and that I get a hoverboard. We have some very special guests this year that turned up for the classic version of COLTT that are no longer necessarily connected to this work we do directly, but have taken the time out of their professional time to be with us. And so I wanted to thank Mark Werner and Corey Pavicic, and as well as Stephen Ludwig for coming today and being a part of what we do. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. David Thomas, who is going to introduce Dr. Deborah Keyek Franssen.
Hey everyone. Has anyone been to all of the COLTTs? I don't think so. I think that's an impossible feat. All right. I'm doing the introduction because I am a classic COLTT attendee. I've been coming to, I started with a third one, and that would be like 2010. And so I've had an opportunity to know Deb a long time, and so I wanted to tell you why we invited Deb to come speak to us today. Dr. Deborah Keyek Franssen is the Associate Vice President and Dean of University Connected Learning at the University of Utah. That in and of itself would give her reason to be here, but wait, going back, there's more. She used to be the Associate Vice President for Digital Education and Engagement at the University of Colorado System. So we're bringing it a little closer to home. So that's cool. Those two things would be enough. But wait, let's go a little further back. From 2007 to 2013, she was the Director of Academic Technology here at the University of Colorado Boulder, where many of us met her the first time. And so that in itself, I think she's getting very, very classic. I think that we could trust her to speak to that. But I want to tell you a little bit more about her. She earned her bachelor's degree from Dartmouth in German, and then 2 master's degree in Germanic languages and higher and post-secondary education, and a Ph.D. in Germanic languages and literature from the University of Michigan, which we know means she's qualified to do nothing. No, sorry. I have 3 unapplied degrees myself, so. Here's what I know about Deb's education. She told me once about a punch they made. Maybe it was an undergraduate, maybe it was in graduate. The only thing I remember about it, other than the immense number of alcohols that went into it, the coup de grace was a cigarette butt. So that's what I know about Deb's academic background. But wait. There's one more reason why Deb should be here tonight to speak to us, and it's that she founded the COLTT conference in 2007. Yeah. And she ran it until that. So really she's here as the mother of COLTT. But wait, there's one more reason. One more reason, then I swear we're gonna let her talk. She was the 2-time champion of the great classic COLTT event, the Pundit Showdown. Okay. Hey, Crystal, can you pull the trophy out? She tried to leave this at the system office. Here's her trophy. Now, before she goes, no, don't take that. It's not gonna, you don't get it. You have to re-earn it. So cue the lights, cue the music. It's time for single player classic COLTT Pundit Showdown. Dr. Keyek Franssen, are you ready for your first question? She's ready.
I am ready.
Okay. Where are the questions? Here they are. Okay, you have been described in the past as the mother of COLTT. If we were to update this title, what would you choose?
Goddess.
Goddess of COLTT. Okay. So it's points are given by audience applause, so I'll give you 40 points for that one. Okay.
Thank you.
Your next question. In the spirit of classic COLTT, name 3 things that were great about the Ditto machine.
You could use it over and over again, so it's sound. You could employ small people to help you do your work at their, like if they're 8 years old, they were capable of doing it. But the best thing was the smell.
The smell, yeah. All right. 25 points.
Oh,
okay. All right. Your final question. Would you like for me to get off the stage so you can deliver your keynote?
This is a trick question, isn't it? Yes, please.
50 points, all right. Okay, last question for the audience. Do we give Deb back her Pundit Showdown trophy winning tonight, or do we give her the consolation prize, the What the Duck prize? Oh.
I really don't know what to say. Except that when we moved from Colorado to Utah after 23, 24 years in the same house, we downsized a lot. So thank you for helping us upsize. Thank you all. This is just wonderful. It's really good to be here. I wanted to see what you wrote, the takeaway for this keynote. So let's go here. I will not give you policy practices. I will give you greater on-site and insight. I will give you, I hope, critical thinking. AI is the end of humanity, so we can get that going. Inspiration, that's what I'm hoping for. It's dangerous to love listening to me talk because I've realized in preparing this keynote that my brain is a strange and wonderful place to be. For me, the Grateful Dead's best hits, you'll be singing those later, I believe. It says David there. Smarts, new ideas, and feel connected and learn something new. So I think you're all on track to have a good keynote. I should say that this is not an AI presentation. However, yes, I know. I will be snarky about AI throughout. Okay, great. And I do think AI has a great deal of potential. But it's not quite there yet. And so I asked it because I was going to use all copyright-free Creative Commons images. I went for the little image of the hello, my name is tag, and all of them were copyrighted. I couldn't find one to take a picture. So I said, this is perfect for AI. Could you please do a little hello, my name is for my introduction? So it did. And so this is what it came up with, and so I don't think we're in danger yet of AI ending humanity. We'll get there, but we're not there right now. Now, one of your program committee members, David, said, Deb, you know, you don't really have to worry about anything you say. You're like the prophet from a faraway strange land. So anything you say will be imbued with wisdom and clarity. He didn't say that last part. And I'm not so sure about that. First of all, I'm not the prophet. And second of all, that's inside baseball, and I'll explain it later. Utah isn't that far away, and it's not that strange. We have to edit that look out too before we post this. So there are some things that are different. The mountains are on the east, which means I go completely the wrong direction to go home if I'm navigating by mountains. There's the whole DEI thing, which we will talk about later. And it smells a lot less like weed there. So, but otherwise, I think you would all feel quite at home there as well. So I may not be the prophet, but I have had several decades in educational technology, teaching and learning with technology online, and now continuing professional education. So it's long enough to develop an evil master plan. And this is, somebody on Wikipedia said, oh, you can use this as fair use. So I'm just taking that. And my evil master plan is that we all use technology judiciously with effective practices to expand access to meaningful education for a broad audience. My evil master plan has not come to fruition yet. I wish it would, but it hasn't yet. So I think, like many of you, I'm thinking that technology, so when we go back 20 years, when we go back to 2007, we're like, oh, this technology, it's going to change everything. We are going to have meaningful learning opportunities for a broad range of people because look at these tools we have, and we have smart people. We'll just match the two of them together. But that didn't always happen. In fact, some of those technologies seem to be throwing up, that's obstacle in emoji speak, obstacles or walls or barriers, or they just throw bricks at our heads. Like, that's another thing. And it makes us feel a little sad. What I'm hoping to do in this is to unpack those dreams we had back in the day, and then talk about how we've already solved the problems. We've already done this before. A lot of the issues that we have now with technology and practice, those are things we've already solved once, and we've solved them here. One of the things I love about COLTT is that it brings us together. We can experiment, we can talk, we can kvetch, we can really think about what could we do better together than we could do separately. And what I hope is that it brings us to a chill place, a hopeful place, but also a place of being constructive about solving problems.
We're having a technical moment.
Technical moment, all right. To the Zoom. I still got it. All right. And when I said my brain is a strange and wondrous place, these are all my associations. I'm free associating. If you're not with me, that's okay. But the reason we can solve these problems is because it's like Harry Potter and the Dementors. He could do that expecto patronum because he had already done it before in a different time. This is definitely copyrighted, but we'll just keep going. Now, let's go back. I didn't actually found COLTT. I helped rename COLTT. Before COLTT, there was the Teaching with Technology conference. And the bad thing about this conference is TWIT was the nicest way to pronounce this. So we knew we had to change it, and that's why we went with COLTT, the Colorado Learning and Teaching with Technology Conference. What was interesting is this is one of the first conferences that privileged the learning over the teaching, that it really put the student at center. And the other thing is COLTT gives us wayfinding, like this one. This is, I don't even know what year this is. This is my son who just became a father, my nephew, and my niece, because it was either put them to work at COLTT holding signs or give them $20 to go to the UMC and play pool. So they came here. But I love COLTT. And I don't know if, I hope you all realize what a fantastic group of people this is and what a fantastic event this is. And there we are, the night before one of the COLTTs. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna gauge where you are. Some of you have already said you're kind of feeling uneasy or not hopeful. And so if you can go back to that Mentimeter, I didn't put the QR code up here again, sorry. I can go back, I see somebody trying to take a picture of it, so I can go back. And I have developed a completely scientific scale for measuring hopefulness. And if you need, there's the QR code if you need that. It's gonna be the same, and every time I'm gonna move forward, and so you should be able to stay on the right one, or on the same one. Come on, there we are. Let's go here. There is your completely scientific scale about hopefulness. Are you in complete despair? Are you just plain hopeless? Are you somewhere in the middle? Does it vary wildly depending on context? Are you sort of hopeful? And are you so hopeful that you annoy people? Let's see where you are. Okay, varies wildly depending on context. I probably shouldn't have put that in there. I should have made people say something. Okay. Now, my goal for you for this presentation is that you take away one bit of knowledge or one new practice that you can put into play tomorrow or on Monday or in the fall, and move people up to here. That's what I'd like, even if it varies wildly. So that's prefiguring how I want you to answer later in this very scientific measurement. So what I'm going to do is go through an introduction. I cannot tell you the number of rabbit holes I went down with this. It was far too many. I learned a lot. that I never needed to know. But what I wanted to do is show that humans have always been futurists or future thinking. Maybe not always, but this is the first evidence. No, I now know. This is an etched piece of ochre from Africa, and I can't remember if it's 40 or 70,000 years ago, but the research indicates that human beings first had a cognitive change in their brains that allowed them to communicate and conceptualize the past and the future. So we have a long, long history of looking toward the future. A little bit closer to us in time, we also have science fiction, where people are thinking about how do you build a future that doesn't yet exist. This brought me to the Sumerians and Hindu epic poetry, which was a little too far back. But then we also have the science fiction writers closer to us, the Romantic period and on, with Mary Shelley or Jules Verne or H.G. Wells, where they're actually using new inventions and then trying to think of what could happen if they change it around a little bit. And I think that one of the things about us is, as humans, is that we're always looking toward a future that's better. And so that's important. I don't know if it's the right thing, but we have that idea of progressiveness when we move forward. We want something to be more efficient. We want things to be faster, better, more equitable, steamier, punkier. We have that expectation of the future. And I think that people in this room and educational technologists, I would say, are some of the most hopeful. This is how hopeful we are. And you'll notice the Pundit Showdown trophy making its appearance there. That's one of our former regents at the University of Colorado, Steve Ludwig. But we always hope that it's going to be, and he's on a high-topped stool, by the way. He's just not jumping weirdly. But we always want something better, and I think that's wonderful and marvelous. We can't always agree on what that better and wonderful piece is, but we hope for it. Brighter light, longer life, this is us. We also come to COLTT because we like to play with cool toys. And that's not a problem. Thank you, Mark, for that picture. Shameless shout out to the Olympics. We want to be better. We want to be more accessible. We want to be easier and together. And this is a really shameless plug. We have our Olympic torch up, or the flame is already up in Utah for 2032. 34, 32, 34. One of those two. 32. That's what it is. This wouldn't be an academic presentation if I didn't refer to a book. So I found a book to which I could refer. And this is Audrey Waters' Teaching Machines. And what she does is she situates the development of teaching machines in the 20th century and contextualizes it. And what I liked about the book, part of the book that I read, was when she said part of our contextualization, part of our understanding of teaching machines and our development of teaching machines stems from our faith in technology and science. It stems from our love of gadgetry. So back to the Google Glass. And I kind of wonder if some of our hopelessness that we feel stems from this. Because honestly, technology is always going to disappoint us. People are also going to always disappoint us. That's a very positive view of the world. But technology won't ever do exactly what we want. It always seems to take more work. It takes more time. There are more adjustments. It's more expensive. So this for me was saying, oh yeah, we fall into that trap. I fall into that trap. And we do have hopelessness now. I think that we as a group didn't have a hot minute to recover from the pandemic. Not a hot minute. We were on the hook right from the get-go, and it's only sped up since then. Higher education is having a moment. We've been bombarded with viruses, like real viruses, with political viruses. with cybersecurity viruses. Like, there's so much happening. And so we're part of this zeitgeist, because see, I can use my German, David. Where we are particularly hopeless in kind of a world where it's a little bit tough right now. This is how I feel. Sometimes where I was like, we're like a new technology, AI comes along, something else comes along, a faculty member wants to pilot this thing that we can't integrate with our systems. I mean, it doesn't stop. So that's me. So part of this presentation is deja vu. Part of it's kind of like the biggest group counseling you've ever been to. But I want to acknowledge that it's been tough for us. So again, it's my job to help you regain hope. So what we're going to do is we're going to be nostalgic for a few minutes, but in my head, not in yours, but you can do it on your own. And then you're going to choose those obstacles, those bricks that seem to be either preventing us from the fulfillment of the promises of technology, or just the obstacles we have toward being effective. And you'll be participating in that as well. But let's start with the nostalgia. It was really nice to be able to prepare this presentation, because I realized that as a young child, I had concepts of the future and hopes for the future that I could never articulate. So we're going to go back in time in my head to see what they were. I mean, not this, but this is like, I can be nostalgic for this. This is a postcard from 1900. And what an artist was asked to do was conceptualize what 2000 would look like. And I can look back, and this was about education, and say, isn't that sweet? They're so innocent. They believe that all knowledge is just the shoving in of knowledge. I don't know who this person is. He's doing all the work. I don't know why the teacher needs to be there at all. And the students just look so, I don't know what they look like, but they don't look energized, they don't look engaged. But I can look back at that with a sense of nostalgia, because I'm like, they were so innocent. Isn't that sweet? They didn't know that. So that's the other thing. When I look back at my past, I can say, oh, wasn't that cute? She was so sweet. She had no idea. But let's just go through some of my own nostalgia for the past, my past conceptualizations of the future, because they helped me believe in the future. I couldn't articulate it, but I was striving toward it. Jetsons. I was like, now I can look back and say, why did I want Rosie? Well, I didn't have to do the dishes. I didn't have to do the cooking. It made Rosie in particular lowered the amount of work we had to do, and that's pretty cool. There was also the communications and the transportation pieces that were worked out. But for me, one of the big pieces for my future thinking came from Tomorrowland. So I was privileged. I grew up in New Jersey, and my uncle lived in Orlando. So we would drive to DC, and we would get on something called the auto train, and we would put our car on, and we would drive we would take the train down to Florida, and we would go here. And I loved Tomorrowland, loved it, loved Space Mountain, loved all of it. And there was something in Space Mountain, and I have searched and searched, and I finally found it last night. There was, when you walked out of Space Mountain, there was there was like a tableau, and one of the mini tableaus was a young girl talking on the phone, but she was talking to her friend, and her friend was on video. Now, this is my memory. I will unpack how memory cannot be trusted in just a minute. But I remember thinking, oh my gosh, that's amazing. How can this ever happen? That we can talk by video, and we can see the person we're talking to. So, that's just a callback. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, because I found that when I was down another rabbit hole. So here we are in Space Mountain. And I knew it was a picture phone. That's a holophone. And I actually called my cousin's son, who's an Imagineer, and he went deep into the media archives for Walt Disney World. And he didn't find this, but I did. So here's the girl. But he did look. I can't wait to visit next month or September because I want him to show me the media vault. But here's the girl, and I think that screen right down there at the bottom is her friend, because otherwise I have misremembered everything. And she was talking to Elvis. So I don't know, but in any case, in my brain, I can see this girl talking to her friend, and it's on video. But I didn't even know the word video. I just knew it was picture and it was moving. And then we've got the hoverboards. So here we come to our title. So now I'm a little bit older, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, transportation is solved. Now I know better. I could have never done this. I mean, like I would buy, I bid it, thank you for the shout out for the shoes. I bid it in these shoes. I bid it in flats. There's no way I could have done a hoverboard. But transportation was solved. Communication was solved. There were evil things happening too. So now jump forward to graduate school. And this is the first time where even now, and you'll notice I chose the template for this presentation for a reason, because I would get so darn excited. Microsoft 95, PowerPoint template, it was black, I can't find it. This is me down the rabbit hole of the Wayback Machine. But there was something about it that made me very excited. Steve's here. Hi, Steve. Sorry. And it was a black background with red and yellow and blue, and it was beautiful. And I remember talking to a friend, and she said, oh my gosh, is this the end of overhead projectors? And I'm like, I think it is. This is a brave new world of teaching. Now we know where it all ended up, but so these are my conceptualizations. Labor is solved. I couldn't say that as a child. Communication, transportation, teaching, and learning are solved. So, how did we do? We sort of did okay. We don't have Rosie, but we have a Roomba for our pets. We may not have hoverboards, and I did not put in all of the TikToks with hoverboards with people just they're dangerous, but we do have some transportation, ugly, and otherwise. We have almost replaced the overhead projectors, but it was by taking them out of people's hands, literally, and saying, no, you cannot use those anymore, but you can still buy one on Amazon, should you want. And this is where we nailed it. So this is on Tuesday. And that's my friend Betty. Sorry. This is so overwhelming. This is a miracle. We weren't on somebody's couch. We weren't hardwired. We were in Betty's driveway, and I was showing her our grandson. And that's the miracle. That's the potential. Sorry, I didn't expect that. So let's talk about the obstacles. So we didn't do so bad. We didn't do great, but we didn't do so bad. That was supposed to be the hopeful part. But we still have obstacles. And your program committee told me about all the obstacles. So I think about them as Legos on the floor. And we just keep stepping on them again and again. We should clean up the floor. But we keep doing it. So here's my conceptualization of what that feels like. AI snark, a little AI snark here. I couldn't find the right GIF. I couldn't find the right image. So I'm like, I'll just ask AI. So AI, give me an image of an adult stepping on Legos barefoot and hurting their feet. And this is what AI gave me. I know, like they're hurting not just their foot. I don't know what's happening there. But here we go to the titular slide. We wanted hoverboards and all that they represented, and this is what we got instead. And I did not know about this. The kid at the top of that COLTT picture, he's like, Auntie Deb, you like Peter Thiel. And I'm like, no, I don't. And then he said, but he has the same slogan as you. And I'm like, crud. So, but anyway, I did not know that ahead of time. But let's go back to the obstacles. This is what your program committee said are the obstacles that you're feeling right now. Access to high quality, meaningful education for lots and lots of people. Reducing the distance between the learner and the content, or the learner and the instructor, or the learner and other learners. The technology hasn't solved that yet. And also integrity. So by integrity, I mean academic honesty or dishonesty, but also the validity of our assessments. And now you get to choose a door. There is no car behind any one of those doors, and there are no hoverboards. That's the under your seat thing later on. But you get to choose which one of these things I get to cover. Two, I'll talk fast. If you choose access, I'll show that we're actually doing a very good job of access and show how we are providing more access to more people all the time. If you choose distance, I'll show how we are using practices to reduce technical interference for the learner and to also reduce the metaphorical distance between learner and instructor, learner and content, and learner and other learners. If you choose integrity, I'll talk briefly about what we're doing now that AI is on hand, and what we're doing to try to promote learning with academic honesty. So, am I admitting somebody? Who's Nick? Who's Nick? Okay, thank you. Who's Nick? Come on in, Nick. All right. So, now you get to choose. Mentimeter time again. What should I cover first? Choose access. Choose access. It's been a long time on a timeline. Choose access. No, you can choose whatever you want. Okay. Look at it go, look at it go. I couldn't even, distance is coming up. Okay, I'll talk fast so we can do all three. I don't know if we can do all three. That would be really fast. So we're going with integrity. So, cheating has always been going on. Cheating has always been going on. I don't know whether to share this about my dad, but he once said that he and my mom were they were at a teacher's college, and they took a class on botany, or I don't know, outdoor or something, so they could teach we children about the natural world. And they were graded, and you'll see how problematic this whole thing is. They were graded with their final project, which should have included pressed leaves, pressed flowers, and their grade depended on the weight of their final project. So my dad told me that his final project included a lot of rocks and sticks, and so he got a really good grade in that class. So, this has been around. I mean, since my dad's, he was a very ethical person, but he's not going to give up a good grade. It's been around for thousands of years. Civil servants in China were cheating on their exams way back in the day, even though the penalty for being caught cheating was death. And they still did it anyway so they could get a good job. So you're going to see some themes here. The other thing is, we get told all the time, there's so much cheating now, so much. But in 1990, research indicated that so at an elite college or university, the cheating, 1990, 15 to 20% of the students admitted to it, so you know it's higher. Public universities, 75%. So you really can't say that, like, maybe we can catch them better, maybe it's a little bit more organized, maybe it's easier, but it's not something that's new. Now, the problem is we have tensions between our ability to assess and scale for efficient grading and effective feedback. This is a problem, and we haven't solved that yet. And we haven't solved it in this country because we're trying to educate as many people as possible. So some of the practices, people ask for practices. The Honor Code Pledge actually works. It does not eliminate cheating, but it helps. Another thing that seems to help, I've seen a couple of syllabi that say, you're here to learn. If you're going to use generative AI, it's like training for a marathon by driving in a car. That's not going to work. You're not going to be able to do the marathon when you get done. So, and it's a waste of your time to submit it. It's a waste of my time to evaluate it. So kind of appealing to the better selves of the students. We do this at COLTT. This is an ungrading session from COLTT, because we can start to lower the high stakes of a high stakes exam. We can start to think, and oh my goodness, what if we used effective design? What if we went back to who the student is, what they want, what they need to get out of this course to help them in their future life? What if we started there and did backward design? Like, what if we did that? And what if we didn't put such emphasis on the exams? What if we changed it instead and focused on the learning first and then on the assessments after that? Now, this is hard. I get it. I'm talking to faculty right now in an unnamed school at an unnamed university, and they're like, we have to have one midterm and one final, and it's multiple choice. Stop the students from cheating. I'm like, okay, so don't have one midterm and don't have one final, and don't have multiple choice. This is the other thing that we're doing. I know everybody's doing this, where we're providing guidelines on generative AI, and also on leaning into generative AI as a tool, the way it should be, and teaching students how to use it effectively in their programs. Oh, not the grand finale yet. Now you get to say what you're going to do again. I have time for one more. Choose access. Hang on, so we did integrity. Hang on, just give me a second. There we go. Oh, bless. Bless, thank you. I've been in Utah a while now, bless. Sorry. We have to delete that too, Jamie. Okay, thank you. We will do access. I think we're doing a great job with access. It's not perfect, but we're doing a great job. And the reason I say this is because every stage of higher education in the United States has been about expanding access to post-secondary education. When we first started in the colonial period, it was elite colleges that were training ministers and converting indigenous peoples. That's what it was there for. Very small audience, because I guess they weren't going to convert all the indigenous peoples, but it was a very small audience, very elite audience. And then we moved to the Civil War, and there's this great expansion with the Morrill Act, and especially in 1890, but in the earlier one, it established the land grants. 1890, it established the HBCUs. Problematic, yes, because they should have been going to the land grants, but it was expansion. And correspondence courses started way back in the day. In World War II, the GI Bill came out, and this one's close to home. So my origin story is that my great-grandmother came from Poland, and she could not read or write. When she was in her 90s and she had to sign a document, she would put an X. My father went to college. So only two generations, they got out of the factories, they got out of the coal mines, and my father got an education, and it changed everything. The GI Bill was imperfect. It did not include Black servicemen. It did not include women, but it was something. And then we have desegregation in the 50s and 60s. This is Vivian Malone and James Hood going with protection to the University of Alabama. And then in the 60s and 70s, we expanded access more by making sure that every community had a community college that they could go to. And now we've got online, alternative credentials, and OER. All of this expands access. So I'd say we're doing a great job. what we're doing at the University of Utah is focusing on the new traditional learner. And yes, this is copyrighted. It's from the Chronicle, but I figure that's okay. We focus on the working adult, at least in university-connected learning. We focus on the students who have some college but no credential or no degree, and we get them back in. We focus on the community members who want either personal enrichment or academic or professional opportunities, and they can come in at low cost. They can come in without being matriculated students. And eventually we hope that they have pathways to a degree, because we know that at this time, the degree is still the gold standard. So we want as many people in there as possible. And we do online. We also serve students who actually leave. A lot of our students leave and go on missions, and then they come back. And we want to make sure that as they start their families, that they have all the educational opportunities as they go along. So this is our U Online page. We're rapidly increasing the number of fully online degree programs that we have. And then this is where's Jeff? Where's Jeff? Jeff. Thank you. This is our continuing professional education. Like here in Colorado, it's over 100 years old that we've been serving the community with courses that range from everything from project management to improv to pottery to bourbon tasting to beer tasting to beer making. Yes, we're the U, we're not the Y. The Y is BYU. They don't have bourbon and beer making. But I'd say we're doing a really good job. And I'd say we're doing a really good job in this room, because we're always thinking about how can we use technology to reach more people. So now we're going to go to the grand finale. Oh, isn't this a good one? Len, that's another COLTT one. Okay, we're going to rewind a little bit. I was talking to a colleague about this presentation and said I wasn't really sure how to wrap it up, and these are some of the issues that the community is grappling with: the access, the distance, the integrity, speed of change. And she said, she's a CIO out on the East Coast, she's like, how do we provide good leadership? How do we not just do a knee-jerk reaction against new technology, and at the same time, how do we not embrace it without thinking? And I think there's a way. That is, and no, it's not that one. Vizzini, when a job doesn't work out, what do? You go back to the beginning. The job didn't work out, I go back to the beginning. I am here and I will stay. That's in the Thieves' Forest. And that's what we have to do. We have to go back to the beginning, not the glittery, gadgetry technology, but rather what is going to make things successful. You'll notice technology doesn't even play a role in here. It's what does the student need to have meaningfulness in their lives at that point that they are now? How do we design learning opportunities that are maybe online based, maybe not, maybe they're face-to-face, maybe they're in lecture halls, maybe they're in person, but how do we design that, and how do we make sure that they're learning, and how do we make sure they can do something with what they've learned after? This is going back to the beginning. Back to the beginning is being here at COLTT. Do you remember when we built a light board upstairs? From scratch. We can do this again. We've already done it. We have experimented, we have supported each other, we have thought about the student, we've put the student first, and so we can do it again. Just like Harry. It went well. We're going to keep doing it. So, one more time. Oh, there we go. Where are you now on this completely scientific scale about hopefulness? Oh, yes. Yes. Annoying, be annoying. Okay. We still have somebody in complete despair. That's two people. Oh no. That's a problem. Okay, I'm okay with that. So that's it, go forth and conquer. And then we'll do QA. But thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't stand academic conferences that have QA where people stand up and do the little rooster thing, and then they talk for 5 minutes, and then they're like, these are all my credentials, and this is what I think, and then they ask just a specious question at the end. So instead, you're gonna ask questions this way, and I know none of you in this room would ever do that, but just to make sure, you're gonna ask questions, and I'm gonna give a full minute of quiet, and then you're gonna vote them up or down. And I will ask as many of the questions that have the top votes as possible. So go for it. You can talk to your colleagues, your seatmates. Well, I've got some slides for that. Funny you should ask. But nobody's voting it up. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't set this up right. I asked AI, I put this, like one of my first scripts and outlines into AI, and I had it generate questions, and they were terrible. Like really, really terrible. Like, how do you balance your professional demands with or your personal life with educational technology? They were just bizarre. Okay, I'm waiting for some upvotes here. Oh, crud. There we go. Sorry about that. What's that? Oh, nuts. Okay. All right. Ah! Ah! All right, if this voting doesn't work, I'll try it one more time and then. Huh. 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 All right, I'm gonna say one and you clap if you want me to answer it. Okay. Hang on. Okay, where's Waldo? Okay, I'm gonna answer that one. Waldo is in a book. How do you explain LEET coding in order to get a job? I would not. So how do I keep that up all the time? I will tell you, you made me feel so much more positive. Our son said a couple weeks ago, baby was sleeping 45 minutes at a time. And then was up like for hours, 24/7. He said, "Mom, how did you do this?" And I said, "Oh, I just cried a lot, sweetie. just go in the other room and cry a lot." So that's how I do it here too. So because there's a lot of pressure on us, and I just like sometimes you just cry, as I did earlier. That's nice to have that in perpetuity on video. But it's also talking to people. It's coming to COLTT. It's because we hear that we're all facing the same things. Nobody has to be alone. Nobody has to do this alone. So you talk, so if you read the news, you'll know that Utah has outlawed DEI. We can no longer use the words diversity, equity, and inclusion together. So the DEI offices are gone. The DEI employees have been scattered to the winds. And I was talking to our former vice president for DEI, and I'm like, how do you do it? Like, how do you get up and do it? And she said, you just get up every morning and you put on your hustle panties and you go to work. Like, okay, so I think that's really great advice. You just do it. You just keep doing it again and again. Yes, I know I can talk about this one. Can you talk about how technology promised to give us more free time and do things more efficiently? I would absolutely say this happens unless you turn the technology off. So if you turn it off, then you've got your free time back. I think I read somewhere a long time ago that for household technology, washers, dryers, stoves, all of household technology, it actually didn't save time. It raised the bar for cleanliness and quality of meals. So it didn't do anything for us. But turning it off does work. What are degrading? What are effective ways? I don't know if I can do that. Okay, I'm gonna get this one. I would say, yes, there is a use case for this, especially if students are helping with developing an LLM, a large language model, with a couple of caveats. It would have to be local, and then, which is fine, but you have to set that up. There's an infrastructure for that, and there's, like, if you need 99.9% uptime, there's a whole other layer of service around that. You have to be concerned about IP. Who owns that IP? Do the students own the IP? And are you allowed to put this even in a local LLM? And if you're only putting it in a local LM, what does that happen? What happens to the learning at the ecosystem level? One more. Looking back on your career, what are you most proud of? I have to say, more than anything else. I'm proud of it. So thank you. I will be upstairs in a room at 2:30. I don't know what room, but I will be upstairs if you want to continue the conversation. Otherwise, thank you. You're amazing. You're wonderful. Keep going.